All right, so city tokens, when I think about this concept of having a token for a city, be it Dubai, Mumbai, New York, what have you, it almost allows for us to place our bets on the cities that we love and to really support their sustainable growth. And that's a really exciting thought in regard to how we as a community, regardless of what cities we support, how we can be a part of something bigger and not necessarily just be part of it from an extractive perspective, but from a contributing perspective, and almost form this aspect of a decentralized cooperative economy. It's really an exciting prospect, and I think that what UNIT is building with city tokens is very exciting for the generations to come. All right. I love this quote by Michael Haley, who is the co-founder of UNIT and CTO. The future of community is cooperative ownership, because I truly believe it is. And it's an important quote to start with, because city tokens really kind of I think any token economy does that, but when you think about cities and you think about it from a geographical perspective, well, how could a city really come together to make sure that that city thrives and everyone within it is prosperous, not just from a wealth perspective, but also from a well-being perspective? And I think they kind of go hand in hand, because if you're serving a community that you love and you kind of own a stake in it, so to say, you're vested into it. It's almost like you're part of an organization that decides to give its employees a percentage of the business after a certain number of years, or maybe the old traditional ways of setting up a startup would be you have a founding team and everyone splits equity in a certain way, and you have the sense of ownership by having equity in a company. Similarly, with city tokens, it would mean that I believe in the city I'm a part of, or maybe it was my hometown. Maybe, there are multiple cities I've traveled to and lived in. We are an era of digital nomads, and there are different kinds of movements that we support and ideologies. So if I want to kind of own a stake in 5 cities across the world, I could then have the sense of participation in its development and sustainability of its growth from like I said, from the perspective of individual prosperity, but then also from a well-being standpoint. Because when we are vested in the things we love, we actually tend to thrive. I love using Burning Man as an example when I think about city tokens, because Burning Man is kind of like a concept where people leave their day-to-day reality, which is the systems we've built initially, and they get a way to create a world that they would prefer to live in. And I almost think that wouldn't it be cool if we could build that world and live in it every day, rather than escape to a world to have this kind of creative escape and be able to enjoy with the ones we love. The reason I bring this up, and this picture over here is the Tree of Tenare, which is an art installation at Burning Man that I absolutely love, and it just it gives this expression of nature that can draw people together, and it's got it's almost, it feels to the emotions of the community. And why did I put a picture of this tree, and why am I talking about Burning Man, is because I feel that city tokens, with this concept of being as part of something bigger, being a part of the growth of a city and its sustainability, we could actually do that by building city tokens and token ownership in various pockets around the world, depending on what the cities that we want to be a part of and want to see thrive. And the principles of Burning Man kind of go, they talk about radical inclusion, of gifting, of decommodification, radical self-reliance, radical self-expression, communal effort, civic responsibility, leaving no trace, participation, and immediacy. And I feel that when people are vested in something, and I go back to what I mentioned on slide 1, when you feel vested in in a company that you might have co-founded, or maybe you're a part of as an employee, which was the old narrative, right? I work for someone. I feel that concept is completely shifting. And it's shifting even from the perspective of the geographies, on the planet that we want to see grow, and we want to see evolve into a space where people are living in harmony and able to support each other. So these kind of principles that were put down in Burning Man actually are very similar to what we believe at UNIT. And we believe that, there are things that can happen in regard to the adoption of token economies that can allow people to feel vested into the city that they're either from, so it could be their hometowns, that they may want to, contribute to. And it doesn't need to be that it's just about supporting it from the perspective if something goes wrong. It's like, how can we allow the city to thrive and use all these amazing exponential technologies, one of them being blockchain and AI, to actually support the automation of the workforce and allow them to be more creative, allow them to thrive, allow them to be a part of the decision making. Where democracies actually don't, there's going to be no kind of black and white in vote counts, right? And so blockchain kind of allows for providing this level of transparency. Going back to the city token, if you're vested in 5 cities that you love around the world and you want to see them thrive, how cool would that be if you have a say in the different things happening in that city, right? And so, I just want to touch on what tokens, the way I see tokens, the way we see what a tokenized economy is. When I think about a token, I think of it as a shift from a consumer to an owner mindset. So when you buy or earn a token because of something you did in the community, maybe tokens are given away in a city token pool, so to say. Let's say there's 100 tokens that are, bought by investors or people who believe in that city and want to kind of have this, so to say, fund aside for the city and its sustainability. Well, you could either earn or invest. You become a part of the idea. You become a part of the idea of the evolution of that city. So you're an owner, and it's just like you're a shareholder. It's just a new evolved version of what it means for you to be a shareholder, but now you could be a shareholder in anything that you truly believe in and support. You may choose to hold on to it. If you gauge it'll increase in value, and this is where liquidity comes into play, right? So do you want to continue to support the ideologies of a certain community or city, or do you think that maybe certain things have shifted and you don't necessarily believe in that anymore, and you want to take your tokens out of maybe Mumbai and put them into New York City? Having that ability to kind of move your ownership, or I would say what you are vested into around, is what the token economy or the platforms being built for the future are going to allow people to do. So it's almost like you owning pieces of things that you're passionate about. That's another way to look at it. Tokens can also have rules, like we know NFTs are ERC-721 tokens, or NFTs. They're contracts, they're smart contracts. And so, the NFT market's kind of had this boom, but I still believe that NFTs kind of could be a dead end. So if you buy an NFT, can you really gain a return on it? That's a giant question mark. The thing around tokens is that you could, what UNIT is building on the platform is that you could easily kind of liquidate, or you could trade one for another. So what do you believe in? Like I gave you the example of the city tokens, but that really goes for everything, right? There are different industry tokens that we have and we're going to be building, and it's not just UNIT, it's actually the people and the community and the ecosystem coming together that are going to allow for this. A token can have voting rights, which is exactly what I kind of talked about, which is huge in regard to city governance, and owning a stake in the cities that you believe in can allow for you to have voting rights within it, based on how the kind of founders set it up, and you can always kind of have a say. It represents a tradable asset or utility that resides on its own blockchain and allows the holder to use it for investment or economic purposes. So that's just just about a token. What are we in need for? Now, this was a snippet of a video that I've shared in so many of my talks, but I love to share it just to give people perspective on the shifting economy. And
we need a different economic model. By that, I don't mean capitalism versus communism. What I'm talking about is a shift in the system along the lines of the two big changes that happened in the 20th century, Keynesianism, with a much greater focus on health and education and the role of government working with business, and then a reaction against that in late century to neoliberalism, where the focus was on free markets, freedom of the individual, and getting governments out of the way. We need a shift to a new system that will allow us to meet the basic needs of every human on the planet, that will live within planetary means, that will be fairer, and that will be focused as its key goal, not on growth per se, but on maximizing human well-being. And history tells us that a values shift is triggered by creation of a new story about how we want to live. I see this.
And that kind of sums up a little bit around what I was ranting about in regard to this shift, that really, I think the ethos of the blockchain community in general, not just at Unit, there's a lot of different initiatives that are happening, is to allow for this new sense of decentralized communities, decentralized governance, and ownership models to evolve. We'll talk a little bit about what Unit is doing in the slides to come, but I think that is going to be game-changing in regards to the way we view investments, the way we see ownership, and the way we really have a sense of well-being in the future. So the question to ask really is, how might we, that's a typo, everyone, how might we enable individuals, governments, businesses, creators, and institutions to operate more transparently together for the benefit of society's well-being and wealth distribution? It's a lot more than Bitcoin. Okay, so what is Unit doing in a bird's eye perspective? There are really three pillars around this, and I think to understand how a city tokens can kind of work, we need to understand the pillars and the breakdown. So the first being the Unit network, which is actually the platform which will allow for tokenization. Now, tokenization is a hefty kind of like word that everyone kind of gets confused about. The way I like to see it is, what Unit's building is what Wix built for websites, right? Initially, in the early days, you needed a coder to kind of code your website. It was always a tedious process. It was an expensive process. And then platforms like Wix came about, which allows anyone to kind of just, use plugins, and you can have your website done in a day, in a couple of hours, right? Just through the use of widgets, and to make it super simple to actually create a website. You don't need to be a developer, and you don't need to code. Back in the day, you need a front-end developer, a back-end developer, and an engineer, right? So that's exactly the concept that Unit's trying to build. It's how can we allow for people to tokenize anything that they truly believe in and test it out? See if you get the funds, see if you get the community, try and grow your ecosystem. And so the Unit network is the fastest, what we're trying to build is the fastest, most innovative tokenization platform. In other words, if you're a brand, as an individual, you may be an artist or a podcaster, what have you, or if you have a company that you're running and you want to tokenize it and you want to kind of decentralize the governance in your company, you could just create a token for XYZ brand, and be able to then transparently on the platform see how you distribute those tokens, and everyone would be able to see that. And gone are the days where you don't know who owns what in a company or in a brand. What we're pushing for, and I think this is the ethos of the blockchain world, is complete transparency. The UNIT Foundation is a decentralized organization consisting of UNIT core team members, so people who are building UNIT based on their natural abilities and serving the community to fulfill the purpose. The UNIT Global brand, or I would say the UNIT Global Network, is a decentralized organization and consists of the industry and city teams. So beside the actual core team, we have multiple teams that for multiple tokens that are being issued. And when I say industry tokens, I mean the art token, the music token, the farm token, and there are multiple different token communities or ecosystems being built, which then means that if you are vested in that, or if you have a passion for those topics or those pillars, you would then become a part of that community. You could either become part of that community as a contributor, meaning a core team member, or maybe you want to start your own project and you want to build your own token project in that space. What UNIT would allow you to do is kind of come on board the platform and create your tokens and build your own project. And so you have the network, the foundation, and the global aspect, which is the industry and city teams. And from that, when we look at the global aspect, there's 5 main pillars. We have the conferences, the ventures, the masters, the university, and the news. When we're talking about the conferences, it's exactly what we're doing right here. We're going to be having these conferences regularly. This allows for the education of what is happening in the world of tokenomics, crypto, blockchain, what are the projects, what's new in the field, and it's not, and it's open to all. So it's not just for certain people to be speaking at these conferences. We have a website called unitconference.com. You go on there. If you want to be a speaker, you can apply for being a speaker on there. A really simple process, or you can come through as a participant. The whole point of this is to just allow for openness and education and sharing. And it's really for all. So it doesn't matter what age group you are in. It doesn't matter what your background is. Anyone can kind of learn at the UNIT conference and participate as an open community. UNIT Ventures is a 10-week community-led tokenized program. What this is, it's almost like an accelerator program assisting individuals and businesses to then build their own token economies. Like I said, what we're building is like Wix did for websites, we're building it for the token economy. So if you've got an idea, well, we could help you, the core team and the members who are, their natural skill set is helping startups, for everything from building pitch decks to actually what it means to build a startup. We'll be crafting that program that supports people who want to build their own tokenized economies or brands. The UNIT Masters, which we're now in cohort 6, it's been amazing. It's open to all. It's free. The point of this was to democratize education, and it was to provide the fundamentals of blockchain, crypto, and tokenization. UNIT University is a knowledge resource, so what we want to have is just a repository. Imagine 10 years from now, anything you need in the space of blockchain, crypto, and tokenomics, you would come here and you'd be able to see the different projects, you'd be able to gain insights. And then UNIT News, which is the news, everything that's new and coming in the token economy. There are 5 levels of the token, and the reason why I'm sharing this information is it's really important to see where the city token sits and how it really isn't one of those Ponzi schemes that we tend to have a lot of going on, and we really, the co-founders really thought hard on how they could build a model that was different. And when we think about the breakdown, the first level is big tokens, which is blue chip tokens, the ones that we all know, which is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Not everyone knows DOT, but Polkadot is another blockchain protocol. And so we consider this the blue chip tokens. And then right under that, it's the UNIT token, which is native to the UNIT chain on the UNIT platform. And this is backed by those big tokens. And what this does is it allows for stabilization and I guess for us to soften the blow of massive volatility. Now, where the city tokens live is right under that layer, and this allows for, the cool thing about this is it's backed not just by the big tokens, which is the blue chip tokens, but it's also backed by units. So it's almost got two layers that help in reducing the volatility. All right. So that kind of, the reason why this is so important to kind of digest is because without this, it would mean that a city token is just, it's the value can't necessarily be stabilized and sustained over time. It would, if it was without this backing and over collateralization of the city token. All right. So the core functionality for Unit, well, we've got we've built the platform so that it provides tools that make it really easy to create a token. And when it comes to city tokens, we'll be creating it and allowing for the ecosystem to kind of grow within it. What communities, I want you to imagine, just focus on the diagram on the right, I want you to imagine a city community or ecosystem using these various features, right? So you have community management where, imagine, let's say New York City, you've got a bunch of people within that ecosystem who are bought into the New York City token. Well, within that, you could have polls for different things. You could be selling different things through the store feature. You could have contests for different things and run different events on there and news. And people could actually ask questions and engage within the platform, which allows for a more transparent, also kind of unified space that an entire community could engage around the development of a city. What's really cool in regard to the decentralized finance aspect of this is whatever the city token backing is it goes into what we've created, which is our USP, which we believe will allow for more stability, which is the treasury. And so we've got a treasury that's going to hold the majority of the funds that allow for the floor price of a city token. You have the operational bank, you have the exchange, and the staking of tokens that can be staked for other things. And so we've got 20 city tokens powered by Unit. These are much more than 20 on this slide, but I've kind of highlighted the ones that we're going for first, which is Moscow, Mumbai, Munich, New York, Amsterdam, Bali, Paris, San Francisco. We've got Seoul, Dubai, Shanghai, Singapore, Tel Aviv, Hong Kong, London, Los Angeles, Zurich, Toronto, and Tokyo. In fact, I think the next talk is about Toronto, which is exciting because we can hear more about that. And so the goal of city tokens is, we're currently active in 30 cities in Asia, Africa, Middle East, Europe, and Americas. I think my previous slide had 20. It's actually 30. Our goal is to have a presence and support of the local economies, right, over time in 60 to 70 in Asia, 30 in the Middle East, and 50 in Europe. But we're starting with 30. And ultimately, we're focused on several global economies and being able to allow for this more decentralized community management, and also to allow for, as I mentioned earlier, to support the cities that you truly believe in and to feel this sense of ownership in contributing to the sustainability development of different cities across the globe. We aim to create impactful connections, right? This is a little bit of our UI over here. Ultimately, with city tokens, we hope that everyone who's a part of these ecosystems, can benefit from the network effect and the sense of community and cooperation, as I talked about a little bit in the beginning with Burning Man and, the future of community being cooperative ownership. The goal of city tokens is really to bring people together to help drive a city's development faster and also in a more democratized manner. So you can participate in multiple ways. How can we co-create? You can join a master's program. You can join the Pioneers program, which is stepping in and working with some of the core team members on areas that you're passionate about to develop the unit ecosystem and infrastructure. We have the Ventures Launchpad, where you can launch your token project, which is that 10-week program that I spoke of, university programs, news, where we'll be posting everything that's new and upcoming. We haven't launched that yet. And then we have the City Token team, right, which is the foundation that will be built around these multiple cities, and you can benefit from the ecosystem and the network. This is how we co-create together, and we learn and educate each other along the way. All right, so to close, we've got a minute left. What's in it for you, or participating or investing in a city token of choice? You can be the change. Because you're part of something, you own a stake in it, so to say. Like I said, if you have a certain city that you are passionate to see evolve, that could be 1, or it could be 3, or it could be 5, or it could be 10. You can be the change within it by contributing in community and owning a stake in it. You can fund your dreams, so using the city token to springboard your financial goals, right? Fundraising, crowdfunding, and investments. And support your community. As I showed you the different features on the Unit platform, you could use that to actually voice your opinion through various contests, events, asking questions on the platform, and really seeing the direction you want the city to go in. All right. Look forward to the talks to come. Go to unitconference.com if you want more information. Thanks for showing up, everyone.